Hello everybody, welcome to today's class. We're looking at phrasal verbs and idioms today. I'm taking all of these from a book called Advanced Phrasal Verbs and Idioms, and it's very easy to find if you look for it online, on Google or on Amazon. It's a white book. But I want to remind you all that if you do want to buy a phrasal verbs book, I do have a phrasal verbs book available and it's selling very well. So I want to thank everybody out there who's bought a copy. All the phrasal verbs today are in this book, but not all the idioms. And so not everything that's on the board is in this book, but all of the phrasal verbs that I could find went into this book. Now, the first one is certainly in there. You can buy that book, by the way, from my website, skypelessons.com. In e-form, but you can buy it on Amazon too if you prefer a physical book. Yeah, it's available in PDF on skypelessons.com for £20, but it's available on Amazon black and white for £20. Good morning, Anna. So, play somebody off against somebody. This is an excellent phrasal verb. I think in my book I talk about this in terms of children and their parents. Children very often play their mother off against their father. Now, what does this mean? This means that they try to gain some kind of advantage by making the mother and the father compete. Yeah, it's a very specific phrasal verb. So perhaps, I think all children do this to some extent. Perhaps the child knows that the father will let him stay up late and he will use that advantage. He'll make sure that maybe the parents have split up and he knows that both parents want to be nice to him. So he plays one off against the other. Maybe the parents are competing for his attention. And so he uses that to his advantage to get what he wants. Okay, now if that's not clear, another way of understanding this is what I just read in another book where I saw the sentence that the company was playing one supplier off against another supplier. Now, both the suppliers want to supply the company with the product, but by playing one company off against another company, you can get them to reduce the price. Yeah, so you make two people compete to gain some kind of advantage. That's what play somebody off against somebody else means. Play one supplier off against another supplier. Okay, let's keep going. To cut somebody out of a deal, or to freeze somebody out of a deal, and again, both of these are in here, certainly. If you cut somebody out of the deal, you exclude them. And if you freeze somebody out of the deal, you exclude them. So cut out the middleman, this means exclude the middleman. Now, if you're not sure what a middleman is somebody who acts between two players in a deal, and he takes a percentage. He takes a cut, we say. He takes a cut of the profit. He takes a percentage. So perhaps if you're an online tutor and you have a business that finds you students, they would be a middleman, really. They're setting up the student and the teacher. They're acting as an intermediary, and that would be another word for a middleman, but much more formal. Intermediary, they're acting as an intermediary between the teacher and the student, and because they're setting up the lesson, they would be a middleman. Now, of course, I like to cut out the middleman, and I think most people do because they don't like the idea of somebody else taking some of the profit. So cutting out the middleman is usually a very positive thing in terms of your profits. Okay, to be in the right place at the right time, very common idiom. It means what it says it means. It means to be lucky. You're luckily in the right place and in the right time, yeah? At the right time. You're fortunate enough to be in some kind of position to take advantage of that kind of position, of that opportunity. So do remember, take advantage of something as well. It's very useful. And if you happen to be in a place and at a time where you can take advantage of something, then you're in the right place at the right time. Okay, if you pay off all your debts, I've put a little 2 here just to show you that it's got at least 2 meanings. It's probably got more, and I try to cover all those meanings in that book. But if you pay off all your debts, you completely pay your debts. It means completely pay then. Pay off all your debts. If you pay off your student loan, you completely pay your student loan. You don't need to pay anything else. But there is another meaning to this word, and it means to be successful when the results of something are good. then the results, then that endeavour, that attempt pays off. So you might try a new business strategy at work, and if it pays off, it's great, it's got good results. So think about pull something off, which means do something successfully. Or bring something off, which means do something successfully. Or even when something comes off. Intransitive with come, transitive with bring. That's a pattern you want to pay attention to, because you very often see that pattern. Come as intransitive and bring as transitive. So come off means when something is successful, yeah. If something came off well and then it went very well, it was successful. And so if something pays off, maybe you've been going to the gym for the last few weeks to lose some weight and it paid off. You lost loads of weight. Yeah, it means you were successful. It had good results. So if something is a roaring success, then it's really successful. And I think we very often use this with businesses, but also with performances in the theatre. You could say the play was a roaring success, or the opera was a roaring success, something like that, meaning loads of people came to see it and it was very profitable. And you should also remember this roaring, I agree it's quite strange to see an adjective like that here, but think about do a roaring trade, which is another idiom. I'm actually writing a new book now on idioms and phrasal verbs because that last one was so popular. It's encouraged me to write another book, and I've just put this idiom in there. And it was when somebody sold a lot of a particular type of product, they did a roaring trade. And so any company that's selling loads of a product, they're doing a roaring trade. So roaring success, roaring trade, they collocate very well, and it means a really successful project or a very profitable project with roaring trade. You're selling and selling and selling when you're doing a roaring trade. Now, if you rest on your laurels, this is normally something quite negative, because it means that you're satisfied with your achievements, so satisfied that you don't want to do anything else. You decide to relax, to sit back. And so maybe you get really good exam results when you're 16 and you decide to rest on your laurels. You think, wow, I'm just so amazing, it's really quite easy for me, I'm going to relax for the next couple of years. And then you rest on your laurels and you only scrape through your exams when you're 18. Yeah, if you remember scrape through, again, it's in my phrasal verb book. To scrape through means to only just pass. It's the opposite of